creating and sticking to your stop loss. It's huge. It's crucial. Again, as I just was kind of preaching, the more you hold, your bag holding, right? You got to have those diamond hands. You don't want diamond hands. There's certain stocks you can have that for a second, for a moment. But again, you're not holding these stocks forever, especially as a day trader. You're in and out of these plays. A lot of the times you may be scalping like recently, or you're holding for your targets. But this is huge and crucial for a lot of traders, so you're not holding on forever and watching the stock continuing to fall on you, and you're losing more and more, is creating and sticking to your stop loss, and especially how I do it, mentally wise. And a lot of mine are mental. I get those questions a lot too. Like y'all are asking, Deck, are you mental? Do you put a stop loss in? Now you can create one. I did that in my Thinkorswim setup tutorial. Of course, that's posted. You can watch it, how you do it. Those are great to have, especially when you want to walk away from a computer. You go, hey, here's my exit. Like from on the long side here, I'm going to put in a trailing stop in or a stop in. Just so if it hits this, I'm done. I'm out. You can walk away from a trade. They're great to have. But a lot of the time, they don't sometimes completely get full, especially if you get a complete flush, right? All of a sudden, it's just drops out of nowhere. Maybe you're in a big share size, and as you see, Deck sometimes gets filled, right, on orders, or gets out sometimes. And we're like, hey, Deck, don't forget about that remaining 20. That's why sometimes I don't like to put in a stop loss. Mine are usually mental. I'm always watching my trades. So I'm in a trade 97% of the time, probably 99% of the time. I'm not moving out of my seat. I'm sweating. I'm in it. I'm adrenaline's running. I'm like, yes, let's roll. Like Deck, like you hear me when I get into trades here in chat. I'm all about it. I'm all in it. So sticking to your stop loss. This is huge and crucial. Again, mine are all mental. I don't ever just, and again, I've showed you how to do it on Thinkorswim, but usually 99% of the time, I'm just sticking to my stop loss, mentally triggering, getting out with a market order. So or flatten, which I love on Thinkorswim, just so I'm not, how many shares am I still in? Oh, just flatten, boom, you're out. You're completely out. So let's get through some of these trades that could be had, right? Potential trades, and some of them I did take. I'll show you some of my trades, and some of these ones that I wish I would have taken, and where my stop loss would have been. So CREX, I remember the CREX. I remember this move from back in late April of last year. Beautiful move. Actually ended up continuing actually in Power Hour, which we're not getting today, of maybe from some place. Craziness. But yeah, this ended up pushing like $4+ and in after hours. Went crazy. But regardless, beautiful kind of like staircase flag patterns on the way up, right? So say right here, you miss this, it halts up, it goes flying up. Where do you want to get in here? Well, what? My halt strategy. Right here. Or I was looking at this one. I forgot to put that one in. I'm looking at the one I wanted to get in. That's the one, because I always remember this trade. I was thinking that this is the entry, but this could have been the halt strategy, because this is the one I meant to add to, and I forgot to add to the slides, but this was your halt strategy. But let's get into the first one that I did add. The entry here, right here. The green arrows are entries. The red arrows are your exits, or your stop loss, I should say, right? Your overall exit, or what would be. Now, this is just the stop loss side. Of course, I'll where your target should be, which I have that sticking to your plan. You'll have those, and it's an overall. But I'll get to just that lesson, your targets and sticking to your targets. How to create and stick to your targets, essentially, right? But this is your stop loss. It's super, super crucial. So that way we're, like I said, not losing a lot of money. VWAP was your entry. Now, usually, like I said, every stock's going to be a little different. You're not going to have, it's got to be 15. No, it doesn't have to always be 15, 20 cents. There's no said area. I'm always based, at least me, I'm always basing it on what's moved and how the stock is moving. So right here, where my support and resistance, just like I was talking about, that beautiful short to be had on XTNT. Why I didn't short it, but it still would have been great because there's so many areas of support on the way down below, and that's where you're scaling out. You want to always remember those areas. So same here. You get into the VWAP, this 50-ish area, which also good whole round number, right around 150, right? Your stop loss should be right here. These lower shadows right here. We know if we pull back, we have that last potential around the 130 area, essentially the old halt up area. Of course, a good original bounce price or area to get in. That is your stop loss. That's 20 cents. That's good, right? It's a good 20. That's not much. That's not crazy. 1,000 shares, that's only $200. But that is your max stop loss area. You don't want to go below 130 in this halt. If you crack that, where's your next support line? It's down here. You're going to be down to 115 before you know it. You're going to be literally cracking 130, and you're going to be at 115 before you know it. And go, okay, well, now it's at 115. Maybe it'll bounce back up to 130. No. Get out. Done. Over. It's done. It's over with. You're done. You lost. It's okay. You didn't work out. It just didn't. It wasn't meant to be. It obviously would have worked out in your favor here, but that is your stop loss. Stick to it. And again, move your stop loss as the stock rises. So again, Now we're moving up, right? We'll go to the next entry area. Just to kind of say you got in here at the VWAP that I was just telling you. Your stop loss was right here at the 130 area, the halt up price essentially. So now where's your entry as this moves up to new, as in where new people are getting in, which I'm about to get into at this 190, right here, at least to your VWAP and entry. Your stop loss needs to continue to rise as the stock rises with you. So you're in at 150, this VWAP, it finally squeezes and pushes here. Your new stop loss is, you're not going to keep it down here at 130 still. It needs to now move up to the VWAP entry area. So that way, if it comes down, you're at least leaving. You can even move it up a little bit more. So, hey, I'm leaving green no matter what. Move it to 160 if you want to. But the stop loss needs to move up as the stock moves up. Again, next area of entry would be a safe area of what? 185, 195. A lot of people would have been loving, and this is where I missed out. I'll show you the trade I finally took, and it's kind of chasing it, but I just had to get in. Well, the bottom of this wedge. Look at this. This is a bull flag. Beautiful bull flag. Here's your flag. Just like that. Remember the little example I gave earlier in chat, and I'll put it out there again real quick. Does this not look just like a bull flag? That'll come up in a second. Beautiful bull flag, though, right here. You know, it's kind of more descending than it is ascending. Bounce plays to be had right across this 185-ish, 190 area. The pennant's on there too, but look at that bull flag. You click on that top left-hand one. The top, does this not look just almost like that top left-hand example? Beautiful bull flag right here. Beautiful. beautiful. So where's your stop loss at, team? Now you can go VWAP. Now you can go VWAP if you want to be ultra safe and give yourself only about a 10 cent to 15 cent stop loss. You can go tight. You can. Now, that's stop loss area one. Maybe once like me, I'll probably, if it does, say if I would have gotten in one of these areas that I missed out on, because it kind of started drooping here, and I was hoping it'd come back actually to the VWAP, maybe a little bit lower for an entry, and of course it squeezes. But if any of those people got in right here, I can understand my point being, okay, it's cracking off. I'm going to scale out some right here. I'm going to give my point being the ultimate stop loss has got to be what, team? These upper shadows at 160. Look at beautiful line you could have put in right here at 160 that it never reached again. But that's got to be your ultimate end-all, be-all stop loss. It cracks through these upper shadows and it's falling to 150 and done. Over. Don't wait for that. It cracks through this 165-ish area, 160 area, whatever that. I think it's 165. Oh, that's 170 actually. 165 to 1. We'll call it 165. That's why I called it area, because there's kind of close to 170. These, 165-ish is closer, more toward the bottom of these candles probably. So anywhere in that area, when it cracks, you're done. You're out, because if it cracks that, then you're what? You're probably back to the 150, maybe 160 mark, and you're gonna fall some more. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to you. Let it go. Sell it. Flatten. Sell all. Whatever it is that you have on your platform. Get out. Now, here I traded CREX. Let's get to my trade of CREX. Waited for this finally to pull back as it spiked up to what? An old high of day area. Kind of like what I always love, old resistance equals new support. I got in on this candle. It's like, yes, we pulled back right to what I wanted. I was in right around 207, 209, whatever. I forgot what it was. Essentially a 210 entry. Your stop loss, the bottom of these candles. That's it. If this, of course, the VWAP's right there, which is beautiful, right? At the time, this was my entry. But then, of course, you get the VWAP entry later on. We're just at the 210 entry right now, team. But the 210 entry right now, this 185 in VWAP area, because it's pretty much right at the same area. You could have put a line in and boom, there's the VWAP. And that's where I am now. So this line, 185, 190 in the VWAP, whammy, I'm done. I'm in. Because I know if it cracks that, I'm in. Probably you get my point. If I'm still just waiting for, not holding still, not selling, upper shadows are next. 165, like the last area I just showed you. 165, that's it. I'm down to that. 170 maybe. No point to give yourself that much room. There's no point to do that to yourself and then bag hold. And I get those messages like, hey, I'm in it. It's like that. I got in at the bounce at 210 and it's cracked below the VWAP. And, this appointment, it's like at 165, 150. And I'm like, stick to those stop losses. You got to do the best you can to stick to those. And then, of course, then I'll give my opinion of maybe how it can and move back to. And I'll always say, of course, if it gets close back to your entry, just sell, which would probably be would have been the VWAP in this case or anywhere. You get my point. But the point is, the main thing is to stick to your stop loss. Your entry here is with me at 210. Here's your stop loss. Your entry again here is around the VWAP 210. The same area. You can put that line over and you can go $2 to be safe. Totally understand $2 because you crack 2, you know you're down to 190, 185. So you could have done 2 at the VWAP because the VWAP's a little higher here. You know, it's at 215-ish, a little higher than 210. So I totally understand $2. If you want to keep it tight, keep it tight. You know, but I'm always about keeping that ratio right. So of course, me here, I want the 210 entry, you know, 20 cent at 25 cent max stop loss. But what do I want? I want this to push just like it did. 210 entry. I know I've got 225 to, or what does hit? 230, I should say. So that's 15 cents. So I'm 1-to-1 essentially right there, right? Close to it. Well, no, 20 cents. 20 cents to 20 cents if I can do math right, not 15 cents. 20 cents to 20 cents, close to that. But this is exactly what I want. The one last push for high of day. So I'm scaling out right here. Usually, a lot of the time, it can be that 1-to-1 ratio. I'm like, okay, I'm going to scale out some here, take my profit. No, I'm locked in here. You know, out of my, say, 2,000 shares, I locked in 1,000 here, 20 cents up. I'm up $200. Great. I'll save this last 1,000 share. Oh, getting the push. And then you're scaling out as it moves. But point being, try to keep that ratio the same. You know, don't be, okay, well, my stop loss is here at 150. Well, okay, if your stop loss, or if you're whatever your stop loss is, always try to remember where your target is and what you're looking at. The main thing, though, for your stop loss, find your support/resistance below where you know this can fall down to, and that's your overall end-all be-all. You know, if this falls down to the VWAP in 185, that's your it. You're crunch. Oh, you're going, ooh, okay, we got to bounce here. If we bounce, you can't. You know, you've got to get out. Then you can't continue to hold if it doesn't bounce here at the VWAP in 185. It's going to crack more, and you're down that much more. More examples of how to stick to stop losses in different areas. Don't have a true resistance support area behind. You know, this really spiked up in pre-market, and I tried to find this and I couldn't the actual full picture of it. But this, my point being, didn't really have it. Had it jumped through one, but it really didn't have an area if you crack through. My point being, which I wanted and alerted and chat, I didn't feel like pulling that slide up, but I have when I did this lesson, I pulled up my alert from chat, and this is why I wanted the bounce. I really wanted 120, thinking if this cracked back to 120. 120 to 1, I'm sure I said 117 area, 115 area, but and luckily I got filled at 117. This was my entry. That's why when I did the lesson, I kind of paused it right here and took a picture. But of course, I wanted the 120, and then of course 117 if I could have gotten filled there, and actually came down to 115, which would have been really hard to get filled there, as you saw the little shadow barely touch it. But it moved up to where? Back up to through the 130 area, of course, where you saw the resistance. But so where's your stop loss? At max, it's got to be $1. I wouldn't have even probably waited for a dollar bounce. I probably would have seen this crack through this lowered VWAP band right through 110, which a lot of the time it's really awesome how you see, look, how this holds up. Look how much resistance this held up for a while. This is the upper VWAP band. I know it's a lot of, platforms. I don't think really hardly any of them have it besides Thinkorswim, but they really tend to work out a lot. They not a lot, but it's here and there. My point being, that would have been my stop loss. I would have been in 117 where I was at with a move back up to 130. So 13-ish cents, right? So my stop loss needs to be around that, so 110 to 108.7 area. I'm not going to wait to $1. But for you, other traders, that needs to be your overall max stop loss. Don't wait for this to drop to 97 cents, 97. There's no point. Get out at $1. Done. End of story, be all, done. You're out flat and you're out after $1. Stick to your stop loss. Your entry is 115. Maybe you get the one, whatever you want, the 120 to 115 area. Your overall max stop loss needs to be 1. There's no point to be holding when it cracks to $1. Let's get into some. Oh, this is my first trading the small account challenge. There's another good point being, here's how to trade, say, something that's not really moving too much, too crazy when you actually get in. You're hoping for it to. This has moved from, $3 with almost $5. So it moved decent, in the first 30 minutes of the market open. Obviously, $2, pretty nice. But me and Deck got in. That's me. We both got in our small accounts right here. What do we want? We see these upper shadows at 420. So we get in at 420. Where do you think our stop loss is going to be? Right here. And look what happened. And that's why I put the arrow right here, because look what happens when you crack our stop loss area. That would have been, especially the VWAP. You're done. It's over. Look at this crack of the VWAP. There's no point to continue to hold. If you want the VWAP to be your overall from the 415, I think you could have gotten filled at 410 there, but 415-ish is where both of us got filled because it was a quick trade. It didn't, and we got out of it quick because you could tell it really wasn't bouncing and that's, you can see why. Here's why I got at XT&T earlier. It's on a nice tear, right? But look what happens on this bounce. It really is kind of what XT&T did to me earlier. doesn't look like it's going to push off the VWAP and crack. So that's happened to me a lot. I'm going to lock in my profit. And then if it does push, oh well, I was right. That was the bounce area. Should have held longer. But again, why we stick to our stop loss? Because if I didn't get out here, which I got out and took my profit, some of it was kind of even because see how fast that came down, and I just got out because I kind of moved my stop loss up. And that's what I do a lot of the time when I start taking my profit in this area and I'm down to say 1,000 shares, 500 shares. I'll move my stop loss up really close to my entry. So essentially I leave it, even on those last amount of shares that I'm in. That's just what I do. You don't have to do that. That's just, okay, it's just kind of a clarity thing. Like, oh, my conscience feels good. Okay, whew, I got out at a good area, And then, of course, like earlier, XT, it's going to move on me sometimes and push up $2, whatever it was for my entry on XT&T, literally like $2. But again, your entry's at 415-ish area. Take your profit. Maybe you didn't, but again, if anything, stick to your stop loss, which needs to be $4 or the trend or VWAP at most. $4 VWAP at most. Then you're out. Because look what happens. And that's why I put this in there and left it with the arrow. Look what happens when you don't. Immediately, whammy, straight down. So be careful there. Stick to your stop loss. Here's another trade you could have been had. Say you wanted the VWAP bounce. You're waiting for that. You wanted, I want the VWAP bounce. Fine, y'all can take the 415 bounce deck and whatever. Okay, cool. I want the VWAP bounce. You get filled at $4 VWAP. Stop loss. Right here. The old halt up area. Little bounce area. And again, look what even happens when you do crack through 380. You're down to 360 before you know it. Again, stick to your stop loss. It's that easy, and that's how I determine these. This is how I'm creating them. This is how I'm sticking to them. I create them by finding, okay, I want a VWAP bounce. Where's my area below it? If it doesn't bounce there and stay there, I'm done. I got to get out. Again, okay, halt up area. Bouncing here after we really rose above it. Finally, right here, right? We finally got a good bounce off of it. If it doesn't hold that 380 area, I'm done. I'm out because, again, if it doesn't, it's going down to what? The next area, lower shadow, upper shadow, and there's another good bounce opportunity, but we know it's going to come down probably in the end, 360, maybe down to 340. Again, stick to your stop loss. How to trade halts. Crazy plays, right? It's halting up. You want to, again, this is one of my halt strategies, right? Old halt up area, halted up right here at the 1122 mark. Right here's the halt up price. It opens up, runs, you don't get filled. Totally understand. You finally, though, you wait like a stock sniper. Wait for that halt area. Look, you bounce once, you bounce twice even at the halt up price. It's beautiful, baby. I love the halt strategy when the stock market's super hot. You get a play like this, it's moving, ripping dollars. You best believe when you rip up above that halt price, especially from 11.22 up to 14, you move $2 almost dollars, and then finally come back down to it, you're going to see a bounce on an old halt up price. Where's your stop loss then if you're getting in? 11 if you want to be safe like me more times than not, especially with a rangy stock like this that can move and it's moving dollars, ripping dollars. At most team, right here at this 1080 mark, this little sandwich area, that's it. You got to be done because and I wish I would have put on forgot to put the one after this. When this did crack right here, this 1120 mark, it cracked through 11 and 1080 so fast, it's just one dump down to like close to 10. I think it bounced right above $10. That's what my point is when you have to stick to your stop loss because when this area right here cracks, and especially this area cracks, right through here, you crack through the halt up here, you crack through the $11, which like I said, your entry, your $11, that's the prime area, but then especially this little wedge right here, you've got to be fully out at 1080. You got to be. Stick to your stop loss team. Again, here's another one that was halting up, kind of going crazy earlier this year, or last year, late in the year, PEC. I'm sure a lot of you remember PECK. PEC, same thing. You're waiting like a stock sniper. Look where it halted up at. And it took it a few candles in a few minutes and halt ups, literally from going from, the 790 area all the way up to 1430. Whew. And look where it still bounces, baby. But it does have the VWAP there, so a little double whammy going on. Beautiful bounce off the hold. Look at this halt up. That's a halt up. You can, if you have trade, or I should say Thinkorswim, TD Ameritrade, right? That's a halt. That's a halt. That's what the halts look like on Thinkorswim when it halts like right toward the beginning of a new candle, new minute. No volume, essentially, as you can see. No range because it just opened up into a new minute. Anyway, look where it bounced that perfectly. So where is your stop loss? Max, team. Max. It's got to be this lower, right here. See 3 arrows in a row? Here's your upper shadow, the close of this candle, the open of the halt, the lower shadow that would have been perfect right there because I think that's actually a halt up too. Pretty sure that is. Right there. That's 750. That's it. You got to get out. What's the point of being a stock at $7.90 and finally it cracks $7.50? You know you're going to be down to what, $6 maybe even before you know it. If it cracks the $7.50 or $7 area, you're done. You've got to get out. That's just a complete drop off. You're done. You're going to be kaput. HTBX. Kind of one that's, here's one at the opening bell. Showed you some halt strategy type plays, where to get in and out, because they're crazy movers, right? You got to know how to trade those and where keep stop losses. Again, it's always sticking to where the support resistance areas are below you, as in where it may bounce, where once was resistance will show up as support now, and if it cracks that, you're done. You need to be out. Again, I remember this alert in the chat. Didn't want to show, but I love this one. Beautiful play. Played it in chat. One of the three, I called it 390 in chat. It hit, and I should have called it, as you can really see, 385 was the bounce, and it went even below that. But right here, look at the shelf being built. That's why I put that 385 right on the dot there so you can see it, team. Beautiful bounce. Where's your stop loss? Look at the shelf right here in this area, and you can go over earlier to when you crack this area. Look when you crack this area. Whammy. Look when you crack that area right through here. Slowly cracking it, and then whammy. I know it's cracking the VWAP too, but look at that. So this 365, 370 area, had to take a little drink of water just to replenish the mouth there, refresh to go, yeah, that's right, 365, 370, baby. But that's your stop loss. You crack that, you're going to fall back to where? Look at this area where you bounce that, what's that, 355? So you're 15 to at least 10 more cents down if you crack the stop loss area. What's the point of then holding down? I might as well just have 50 cent stop loss. No. Find a stop loss area and stick to it. Find a little area where it could bounce at, little resistance below, once was before, right? And where it came back to, this can bounce at. That is the end all be all. If it doesn't bounce there and it cracks back, now a lot of these ones I'm showing you, right? They're great examples of bounce plays because that's usually from my chat. I haven't found any where, and I've tried to show you both where this doesn't come back to, but the one does. There's certain ones where I know I showed you one, what happens when you crack the resistance area. Oh, well, that was in the same one. Well, hello, Josh. Hello, AK-47, right here. Look what happens when, like I said, you crack that area. Now, though, I think I did show you one earlier when it does finally come, when you do crack, what happens. But that's the point. You stick to the stop loss, and this is how you're creating them. You're going back, going, okay, if I want a 385 bounce, I see why I want the bounce, but where's my stop loss? Why? Where am I going to get out if it does crack this area? Well, where do you think? Okay, let's think about it. Okay, you could have this little shelf here, the bottom part of it. That's where I kind of start this 370. It's 375-ish at the start of the shelf, close to 370. Like right here through that line, the dotted line of the VWAP right there is right at 370. So you could start at 370, and then the bottom of it's going to be what? Right here. This 365 here came up to it. Right here, bouncing on it after we came up to it, broke above it. Now we're bouncing on 365. Look what happened when we cracked 365 earlier. So I'm like, yeah, 365, 370. That's it. That's got to be the area that I am out completely 100% if it cracks that. APVO. Again, how to trade a different type of play here. How about a U-shaped breakout? We love these in chat. U-shaped break of the VWAP. I haven't alerted those in a while. I haven't seen too many of them. But boy, when we see them, they're beautiful to have. Love them. So where do you want to have a stop loss at? Your buy here, because that's the breakout, one of the very few breakouts I love buying. And of course, it's in a hot market time. It's when I've been seeing them, been alerting them. I've been alerting this like 3 days in a row. Hello, let's get into this, baby. Right here, baby. And I don't have a little Jimmy, man, I have that all day in me now. But yes, loving it, getting pumped. I guess a little March Madness. My Hogs are doing pretty good in basketball. But right here, break of the VWAP, so you're in 835. You're in at the break of the VWAP, right? So where is your stop loss at? These upper shadows to be the safer route, because look where you do bounce later when you finally actually come down and crack through 810. So these upper shadows right here, eventually you see the bounce, 810 though. Kind of get some mixed in right here, but then this has got to be where you have your lower and riskier side. It's a little 15 cents below. Look at the bounces here at the 795, 795, came up to 795. So 795 has got to be your end all. That's your end all be all. If you want to go a little bit riskier, right? That's a 40-cent stop loss. But of course, it's for a rangier stock that can move dollars. That's why to me, I'd been probably more on the safer side in 810. This area would have been my stop loss. Again, determine it on your own. See what works best for you. But that's where I'm determining my stop losses, and that's why and then of course, I'm sticking to them. You got to. You do not want to be in these plays. Like I said, you're down 30, 40, 70 cents. It just continues to fall. Don't want that to happen. MYOS. Here's just another play. I remember getting into this one. Had to learn on this trade back in very first day of July last year. Bounce play off of these upper shadows. Here's exactly how I wanted the 245 bounce. Upper shadows, upper shadow, upper shadow. Whammy, we get our spike above. So I'm like, please just pull back to 245. I get my entry. So 240 to 245 is your entry. So you're fine within. You're in with me around the 240. I think I was in at 240. I wasn't in around 247. So you get this entry right here at 247. So what's your stop loss? Again, why I'm showing you this one, because it's a little wonky. It's like, where am I? Again, you got to take your little bit of time, do your little head game, due diligence, determine it. Takes a second sometimes. They're not always clear cut. Trend line. You could have moved the trend line up a little bit if you wanted to and say this was a crack up, but right here you could have put it, like you see what I'm saying right there? But the trend line. Now, a lot of people, and I put that in there, safer traders, VWAP them out. Now, it depends on how much it moves up, right? And of course, as the stock moves up, that's where your trend, or I should say your stop loss is going to be. As this moves up, that's where my stop loss was. My stop loss originally was probably around that 220-ish area. Then I put this trend line in, and that's how I liked it on the bottom side, giving myself a good maybe 25 cents at most, 220, 225 area at most. But of course, if it does crack through that, I'm not holding. I am 1 trillion% out at the crack of this trend line. Because, of course, then nowadays I'm willing to short that. But you get my point. And then as I was saying, you're moving your stop loss up, and it continued to move up because I had a stop loss at the VWAP as this moved up. That's why I put the VWAP in there. Got the last couple of slides here to get through real quick before we get to close the market. GIVO, here we go. Now on the short side, trying to show you shorts, how to cover on your short side. Of course, I've showed you that when I've sticking to your the plan and all that last week. Forming your plan, of course, I had the short trade. I should have my my shorting lesson a month or two ago. But now the stop loss, how to stick to stop losses on the short side. So I'm the trend line cracker, right? I love trend line cracks. So you're in here on the $14 or $14.15 area on the trend line crack. To me, to be safe, this high of day area 425, and I know it's kind of tight, but that's my stop loss. We start pushing a new high of day, just continue to squeeze. We've seen it happen, because he trades so much, we've seen it happen in a deck every once in a while. Gets in on a short, he continues to kind of push on him. And he may sometimes have to scale in a little bit more, but that's my point. That's my stop loss because I'm in once. I don't want this to push through 425. Next thing you know, up to 450. I don't want that. So I'll keep a 10 cent tight stop loss, and that is exactly why, because I don't want this to push to a new high of day on me. So 425 is my stop loss from the trend line crack area. Last example right here, real quick. Again, a shorting example. Exit trend line crack. Loves it. Loves it. I love it. 615 area is your entry. 620 at best, right? The trend line crack. So what is your stop loss? You can have two here. Your trend, because we were on a trend line, were we not? You're short in the crack of it. The trend line is your first scale out zone. Excuse me, there was almost a hiccup that came through. Is your first trend line zone, or first, I was going to say scale out zone is the trend line right here. So 420. So right above it, I know because you get a quick crack to 6, but you want to keep it kind of tight. So it's now moving up through 420, right? Or I should say 620. So you have about and it's only 5 cents, but you don't want to squeeze. I know that my point being, if you want to be safe, that's why I put that in there, because you could squeeze to the VWAP. And this was mine, and the overall stop loss is the VWAP. Right around at the time was around 635, a 20-cent stop loss. So, because again, I don't want this to squeeze back up, as in it's still in this kind of ascending area, and it pushes back up to 660, 680. Now I'm down 40, 50, 60. Don't want that. I don't want to squeeze to the VWAP, because I know if we push and squeeze to this VWAP, we're up to 660 and 670, 75 in a glance, most likely with this. Well, not a glance, but 2 or 3 candles. So again, maybe a little bit out at the, okay, I'm not liking this. It's looking like it may pop back through the trend line here. Out some there if you want to be safe. The rest, you're out at the VWAP, because if you push to the VWAP here, you're going to continue to push. But that, again, how you create and stick to a stop loss, team, find those areas above. Again, like on the short side, you're going to find your areas of what? Once were resistance, but now could, or I should say once were support, but now could be resistance. You don't want that to push and squeeze through those. And same on when you're, like I said, when you're going long on a play, find the area below that could bounce at. Find that support below. So if you crack through your area that will support, find the area that's, 10, 15, 20 cents below that could easily be a good bounce play. And if it cracks through that, you got to get out. So again, like here, you're in at 245. If it cracks through this last little trend line and bounce area at, the trend line at 225-ish, you need to be fully out. You're done. It's not going to bounce anymore. It's going to crack even more. Get out fully. So I hope that it helps everyone with the trend line. I should say with trend lines, with sticking to the stop loss, how to create one and how to stick to it. Like, again, just kind of go over this one, okay? I want to get in here at the bounce play here at this, all these upper shadows here at the 415, 420 mark. I know I'll see a bounce there, which we did. Where's your stop loss? Okay, below. If I don't bounce, if it bounces in, okay, cool. About the $4. If it cracks below 4, the VWAP, which the VWAP's lined up with these lower shadows here at what's that 390-ish area? Yeah, I'm out. You got to be out. You see what I'm saying? So you formulate your plan. Entry here. My lowest area that I am going to completely, I'm going to sell complete out of it is the area that if it cracks through, I know it's going to fall through further, and you're going to have even more of a loss. So stick to that stop loss. Hopefully that helped out some traders with sticking to your stock creating and sticking to your stop loss. Please let me know.